My name is Monica Gleberman, and you're listening to Silence on Set podcast. On today's podcast, we're talking to Meg Donnelly, who plays Mary Campbell in the hit television series The Winchesters. The Winchesters tells the epic tale of an untold love story of how John Winchester met Mary Campbell and put it all on the line to not only save their love, but the entire world. So to talk about the evolution of Mary Winchester, all of the things that happened this season, the crazy twist with the photo, and break down the finale, here's Meg Donnelly. I know everyone has asked you kind of all the, oh my gosh, it's supernatural. What does it feel like? And you're stepping in and you're playing Mary. Okay, so we've been through all that. So now that you've played Mary, I want to know for you, what has changed from your initial version of Mary in your brain, basically, and to playing her into the finale?
In the pilot, I feel like she's definitely more closed off and definitely more of a soldier kind of personality. I think you get glimpses of like little funny in there because she has like an immediate attraction to John, so she kind of like opens up a little bit and she hates that. But I think as the season goes on, I feel like you learn so much about her and that, you know, she didn't ask for this life and she wants out and she just wants to create her own future. And there's a lot of things that she's been through as a kid, so many people she's lost, and I feel like that has all made her who she is. But I think it's really cool in this season you get to see so many different layers of her, not only Mary, like everyone else too, Carlos, Lata, and John. But Mary, I think there's so many episodes where you see where her struggles come from, and then there's some episodes where she's more lighter, and then she goes back to her dark side. So I think it's really cool to see her layers and kind of exploring her layers. And I've definitely learned a lot about myself. I feel like in the pilot I was like, how am I gonna play Mary? Like I'm nothing like her, and it's not gonna be convincing, and I'm so nervous. And then I realized that I'm a lot more like Mary than I thought I was. And so that was a really, really cool journey for me as well. So I've learned a lot from playing her.
So it's funny because a lot of you kind of said that you sort of intertwined at some point where a little bit of you kind of became the character and a little bit of the character became you. For you, what were some of the things that, you know, you learned stuff about yourself, but what were some of the things that you put through into Mary? So like as you were learning more about yourself, were there certain aspects of you that were like, this should be part of Mary's story?
Me and Robbie would always talk about, it was like me and Robbie always do like little bits on set, and we just thought it would be really fun to kind of add that into Mary and John, because I mean it's a way different relationship, but Sam and Dean have so many good like lighthearted, funny, just like poking at each other moments, and we definitely wanted, you know, them to get that from John and Mary. And also we have so much fun on set just cracking jokes and playing pranks and bits, so we were like, we should definitely, when there's like lighter moments and we're kind of like investigating, for John and Mary to have like some fun. And that was always really fun to do on set because they let us improv a lot, so that was really cool. But also being in New Orleans and being on my own for the first time, because that was my first time I was like by myself in New Orleans, and kind of navigating my brain by myself was definitely a challenge. And playing Mary helped a lot. Like it helped me be more confident and care a lot less about what people think. But also I think a lot of my journey I definitely put into Mary's journey too, because we were kind of going through the same thing, not on the same scale as Mary obviously because she's going through a lot, but kind of just figuring out life and navigating that part I definitely related to a lot. So,
and how is it, you know, obviously you walk in, you do have this pressure of supernatural kind of like in the back of your brain, right? You have Dean Winchester on set.
Yeah.
Even if he's like behind the camera, technically we'll get like when him on the show, but you know, even though, you know, you have Jensen behind the camera, you have them there, and then there's the four of you that really have to make this work, right? All four of you have to get along, all four of you have to have that chemistry kind of going. So what was that like? Because the four of you are so much fun, and being able to see you guys and talk to you for like a significant period of time, I can understand why all of you kind of get along and you all like joke around. So much fun. So what was that like, getting to know everybody and making the four of you almost like a little gang? Because for Supernatural you rely so much on, you know, Sam and Dean a lot, and then other characters, you know, like Misha and stuff come in and we start relying on them, but there was never like a team of four core people from you know, the beginning to the end. So what was that like?
It was really cool. Being on the pilot was so much fun. It was like going to summer camp. I feel like when we first met each other, we all like instantly clicked. And on the pilot, since we were only there for like 3 weeks, we hung out like every single day and we got really close. And with Bianca as well. And yeah, we created our own little alliance of like going forward, if we get picked up, like we'll go to each other for this and we'll make sure that this doesn't happen. And we kind of just like, and we also created this thing for the table read, the first table read in front of the network. We were so scared. And we made up this thing. We were all like in a circle and we always just say eyes on us. So like whenever we get nervous, we literally just did it when we went to a convention in Atlanta and the four of us were about to go on a panel and we were like, okay, eyes on us. And then we put our pinkies in like a center and we just like breathe together and then hype each other up. So we do that all the time, like on set before anything big. And even two of us will do it, like me and Nita will do it, or me and Drake will do it, or me and Georgia will do it. So that was really cool. And when we were on set, it was just such a family, like not only the core four or any of the guest stars that came on, but just like the crew too. Like we were all very, very close. And I think, I mean, Nita, JoJo, and Drake are awesome. But also I think the Supernatural family like really implements like just chillness and like just really fun, like carefree vibes and looking out for one another. Like it's kind of like everyone against the world. And I think Jared and Jensen and Robbie and just everyone who was in Supernatural before, like everyone has that same energy. And so I think that definitely trickled down for sure.
So since we're talking about like the fun stuff, so before I get into like
Yeah.
mine, so
Yeah.
I've heard some things. So first of all, I asked if there were any pranking, like fun things going on. So I've heard about a couple of pranks that, you know, like Nita has tried on Drake. I know there's a little back and forth going between the two
Yes.
of them. They both think
Yes.
each other's winning, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Then I heard that there's a farting situation that someone asked me about.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so, because I covered Supernatural for 15 years. So like to me, so like surreal hearing the similar kind of hijinks going on your set. So
Oh yeah.
there's a farting situation happening.
Yeah, all of us are just farting all day, every day. Nita says that she doesn't, but she totally does. But
She threw Drake under the bus. She was like, he's worst. He does it all the time.
And he does it on purpose sometimes. Like not on purpose, but he'll just be like, wait, what is that? And then he'll just fart so loud. And nothing makes me laugh harder than farts. Like I like cry every time we have to cut. And it's like so many times during scenes, like one of us will fart and it's just over. We're just laughing and it's just done. I can't wait for more of the bloopers to come out because there's so many, because we were just laughing so much like all the time. There was one scene, I think Nita might have talked about it, but we were doing where John's punching the punching bag in episode 5 and then Mary comes out and they have a fight. And Nita and Nick, who plays Anton, were like inside and they could smell his farts from inside and we were outside. And Nick was like, what is that smell? And Nita was like, oh, I think there's like a sewage plant nearby. And it was crazy. It was so bad.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It was hilarious. So yeah, and Jensen always tells us that used to be Jared a lot of the time. So Drake definitely has carried on the tradition for sure. So funny. It's so good.
Have you gotten into any hijinks? Because like I've heard, so I know like Drake and Anna are going through their thing. There's farting going on set. Are you doing outrage? I started laughing because I saw the video someone posted. I guess it was like one of the nights where you guys were having like craft services or whatever, and the music's blasting, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
rocking out the Running Man. I was like, yeah. Like I saw you dancing. But are there any pranks or anything crazy that you're pulling?
I would always play music. Also, people at Craft would always play music. So there was always dancing going on for sure, especially when we were on location or it was like a late like night shoot night. I feel like I'm the one who's getting pranked. Like JoJo loves scaring people so much. And so they have scared me so many times. There's like a little like cast tent to stay cool or to stay warm depending on what the weather was. And then every time I would walk out, JoJo would just pop out and be like, ah! And every single time I fell for it, every time. But also the cast tent was kind of just like a sheet. So people like, I mean, all the cast members, Nita, Drake, JoJo, they're very into pranks. So they would come up to the chair and go like this with like I would just be scared every time. So I'm not a big prank person. I'm more the person who's getting pranked. So, but I will be an alliance. Like if there's a prank going on, like I'll help. I'll help out. Like when Nita had the plunger with like the melted Hershey's chocolate, I was in charge of keeping Drake away from his trailer. So I was like, let's talk for a second about the scene coming up. Then we were like talking about it, and I was just like making stuff up. And then we went back into the trailer. Then the plunger was all over the trailer floor. So, and to videotape it too, I was the videotaper. Yeah, so I'm part of the crew.
I told Nina, I was like, we need to, she was like, I don't know if Drake's like believing some of the stuff I'm doing. And I was like, we need to talk. I'm like, we'll need to come up with something. And then I said, like, is Meg helping out? And she was like, oh, she's like a helper. I'm like, we need to get her involved. We need to have like women like getting at these guys. So like, so we'll come up with something. I was like, I'll send you messages. So we're already like going back and forth. I'm like, I'll come up with something to help you.
We totally should. I would really like to like really prank Drake because I feel like he always is on to it because he has like
That's
a
what she said. Like,
yeah,
like that he always knows. So I'm like, we need to come up with something like really good. So I was like, help you. So we were like throwing out ideas. It was really funny. Like off camera, but we were talking about ideas, and I was like, I'll just message you on Instagram. So like,
okay, great.
So we'll have to get him.
Let's make an alliance. Let's do it.
Yeah. So like, it's so much fun, like watching all of you guys, seeing all the videos, seeing all the photos on Instagram. I love it all. Which reiterates this love of the four of you together. So it bleeds through on the show. I mean, it's so apparent because of all the stuff that you guys have to go through. So what's that like now that you've been through all of the episodes? You have your finale. I want to talk about the pivotal moment of the picture before we get to the picture moment, because I call it, I think that's like one of the legendary, other than like the finale stuff, moments. But for you, as you're reading like the episodes and seeing Mary kind of evolve, and you have a future, like on Supernatural in a way, sort of, where a version now of Mary might end up. So you have somewhere to look to. So did you use any of that? Did you stay away from all of that as you kind of arced her? And where did she kind of start, and where do you feel like she's ended?
Like, yeah, in the 13 episodes, I think that she definitely kind of has an open-ended, like her and John are kind of open-ended right now, of like their future is kind of like whatever they want to make it. I personally believe that in any universe, like fate is kind of fate. I would like to believe. So in the back of my mind, I'm still kind of thinking like Supernatural timeline, but I'm not sure like if we do get a season 2 or what happens. Like I have no idea where it's going to go, but I definitely have that in the back of my mind because a lot of the scenes are like foreshadowing, and like lines are purposely in there for like kind of the Supernatural timeline, and to kind of make fans go like, oh no, and to see John and Mary super young and not knowing what happens. And a lot of things they talk about where they're like, oh, we're not going to do that, actually happens, like ends up happening in the Supernatural timeline. I think it was really fun to think about that stuff because it just adds so much more context and more kind of like tension. So that was really fun to think about kind of where Mary's future heads. And I also think it makes it a lot more interesting that now she kind of has a choice and that she is making a future for herself. And then if it ultimately ends up going back to kind of like canon, then that'd be really, really interesting. So yeah, I would love to see how that plays out. There's so many different ways that we can go.
I wanted to ask you too, in terms of Supernatural and canon and all the stuff, and I loved it too. When Drake said canon, I was like, oh, I was like,
yeah, I got that from him. He says it like every 5 seconds. I was like, what are you saying? And he was like, canon. So I was like, oh, okay.
I was watching Supernatural when it was like airing, so I've known these forever. So when I hear someone say canon, I'm like, oh, I was like, he like totally gets like the whole Supernatural world. So it's so cute. But I'm also interested too in, there's so many interesting ways that you guys can take it, right? And on Supernatural, there's been this awesome ability over the years. So hopefully Winchesters over the years to do these super fun, weird, crazy spin-off episodes.
Yeah.
Like Drake came up with an idea, which then we somehow later circle back on.
Oh, wait, he told me about it, I think. This set?
Yes.
Yeah.
Episode that we came up with. So then I got nervous. So I have it, he's all edited and it's ready to go live. And I'm like, should I take it out? Because he was so excited and he was like, I want to tell Robbie, I'm going to call. And I'm like, I don't want to ruin it and then put it out. And then hears it. And then like, it just doesn't happen.
Right.
So like, I haven't decided, I don't know what to do. So if he's like, you take it out.
Okay, I will ask him. I'll let you know. Yeah, no, but I think it would be really fun for it to be in, because he was talking about it at the convention as well. So
okay, so
yeah.
Well, it was so fun because I was gonna ask him what I'm gonna ask you, but he was saying, I said like, what kind of fun episode would you want to do? And so he said something like that episode where they had to, Jensen was Jensen, but he was really Dean. And then somehow we kept talking, and then we circled back, and I said, it'd be really cool because you've had so many cast members from Supernatural come onto your show. What if the actors and then like you guys were like like the ones working. And then his face, it was so funny. I have a screenshot that I put on Instagram and Twitter, I think. His face went like that. And like he was so excited. He's like, oh my God, I'm calling Robbie when we hang up. And like he got so excited. So I was like, oh my God, and then I just said, just send me my 10%. Like I'll take my I'm coming
No,
up.
he better. He better.
But we were so excited. So I guess besides that, or unless you have stuff to add to that, I would love to know what episode would you like? Because we've had, Mystery Spot where Dean was killed over and over and over again. We've had them going into the past. We've had future. We've had death. We've had hell. We've had all sorts of crazy stuff on the show. What would you love to see on the Winchesters if you could have a spin-off, one kind of singular episode?
Like we always talk about, that'd be really fun, is like if we all like switched characters, like we switched bodies. Something happens where we all like switch bodies. And so like JoJo plays like John and then it would be fun to be Carlos. I would love to play Carlos because Carlos is my favorite. But like, yeah, we all play different characters. So like Mary swaps bodies with Carlos, let's say. And so the four of us are all different people. It would be so fun. Honestly, I would love to see Drake play Carlos, actually. Never mind.
I would pay. Like Carlos, I would pay money to see that happen.
Me too. So maybe that. Yeah. So I think that would be such a fun episode. Yeah. So I would love to see that. And also, like, I don't know if it works for our show at all, but I would just love a musical episode for anything. I just love musicals.
Yeah. And you guys are like relatively musical. I mean, like, JoJo had this episode. I mean, like, there's a lot of music there happening. So
yeah. Or it'd even be funny if we're like in a 70s band and we're terrible. Like Carlos is like, okay, like here we go. Like, and the three of us are like trash. And Carlos is like, I hate you guys. Like that would be really funny too.
Yeah, like the first, and like he's like that would be so funny if Carlos was like such a manager too. Like this is not working. This is not working for me. Like
yeah,
around.
so funny.
Oh my God, that'd be so good. I love those ideas, and I'm going to like message Drake and yell at him for stealing my idea at the con because I did not see the video. I was not in Atlanta, so he stole my idea and ran with it at the con. Well, we're gonna have messages. I'm gonna have to send a little message after this now.
Tell him.
I'll have to watch it though because that's really cool if you brought it up. It was really funny in the moment to like just be like, oh, we're geniuses. Like we just thought we were so cool. But yeah, that would be so fun. I think a musical episode would be really cool. But I also like switching bodies, and I think not only because it would be fun, but for an actor, like what that must feel like to be like, oh,
yes,
totally playing someone different. What do I do? That's a good idea. Let's get to the photo episode. I get to see everything like kind of early. So like I saw the episode and it sucks because you don't get to like go on Twitter. I don't get to talk about it. That episode, when I watched it, like when I saw his photo, I was like, oh my God. Because like it's one thing that he narrates. It was super fun for me as like someone that had watched the show forever to see Dean in the beginning, right? In the first episode and kind of see him in the car and like, things that we all fell in love with like over a decade. I wasn't sure if like we were really going to see him again in an episode or not. So this flip over the photo, we see him. I still don't know if he's going to come back or not, but we see him. Like, like I don't know if he's going to like come on the Winchesters or not, but we see him in this picture. So I'm waiting. Twitter explodes when this episode, and I go on everyone's Instagram because I want to see all your responses, and you're all live watching this episode. I like hop in. It was so funny because all of you just like start screaming like when that when the photo gets shown. I love that you guys got Jensen to wear a birthday hat and blow out a cake because like he celebrates Dean every year, which is like awesome and super fun. But listen, he's got the hair, he's got the look, a birthday hat. I mean, listen, I think there's very few hats he's probably even worn on Supernatural, let alone a birthday hat. I was like, how the hell did these guys get him to wear a birthday hat, blow out a cake on camera? I saw Danielle there, so I was like, I know she had something to do with it, trying to get him to put that on. But whose idea kind of was it? I know that you guys had done a live prior, like so there's been but Jensen also, and I make this joke, and again, hopefully he doesn't kill me because I said it in a different interview, but he's not the best with technology and you guys are younger.
I was just about to say that watching him like live trying to like in person trying to work Twitter is the funniest thing like anyone will ever see. It's so funny because Danielle's like, oh, you should tweet now, and he's like, nah, I think I'll wait a couple minutes, and then he like pulls out his phone and then like starts to tweet like the hashtag's wrong, like the tweet doesn't send, like then when he tries to like when he was, oh my goodness, when we were watching episode 8 because they were in town for Thanksgiving, like he was trying to go live and he was also trying to like make a video to tell people he was going live, and it took like 8 tries because like it wasn't recording or it'd be be like just his thumb or it would just be his like his eye. It was so funny. I have never laughed harder in my life. It was so funny. And yeah, the birthday party was so fun. It was like before everyone came over, the core four plus Bianca, we all cooked. Well, Nita is the chef. She
I've
is
heard this rumor.
so good at cooking and coming up with recipes on the spot. And so we're like her little assistants. And so we made dinner. So by the time it was like Tom Welling and Jensen and Daniil and they all came over and yeah, it was so much fun. And we had little birthday hats and we sang happy birthday and yeah, it was really really cool. And for it to be that episode too with the photo was just really really awesome. So
Danielle made the hat happen, I'm assuming.
Yes.
That.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. It was really, really sweet. And it was fun like celebrating Dean's birthday that way.
Yeah, and I loved it too because first of all, relating to Jensen and technology, I love it because when he does it, I told him this once when I was interviewing him, I think before The Boys, I told him that he sounds like Dean. So like when it's
Yeah.
not working, he's like, damn it. And like this low voice comes out and like he just can't like do it. And it's just so funny. So like I just can't help but laugh. And then he gets mad because like I'm laughing and like he's like, you're not helping the situation. And then like he's like trying to do it. So I just like love it. So that's why I wanted to see. I was like, they must have seen him try. And when you guys went live. So it's just funny because everyone was like, he's the worst at doing it.
It was so fun. Also, the Loki thing, like I had no idea because everyone was tweeting. They were like, is this Loki or is it not Loki? And I was like, what does that mean? And then Drake and Jensen were trying to explain it to me and I still couldn't understand what was happening. And so then they FaceTimed Spate. And so
that's why he was FaceTimed. I was wondering why they called him.
Yeah, because he was in the episode, but also, and so we were like, you're doing great, but also it was for Jensen was like, let me just call him. And so then he was trying to explain it to me. I still don't understand, but it was really nice that Spate was explaining it. Yeah, so that was really funny too. And then Jensen and Spate caught up for a really long time after he tried to explain to me. So it was really sweet to watch that they're all so close. It's so confusing.
So funny. Listen, I'm sure a lot of people get confused with that. When I was listening to Richard talk about it, I was like, I wonder why they called him in. And when he was talking about it on the phone, then I was getting confused. So I was like, wait a minute. Like, I thought I everything too. So then I was like, all right. I was like, just keep what's in my head. Because then I was getting confused because he was going on like a whole thing. And then Jensen just turns and he's like, right? And I was like, I don't know if anyone understood what just happened. So I was like confused. But I sort of got what he was saying. But yeah, it's hard because there's like Loki, like obviously the trickster situation. Richard's played other characters. And this is Supernatural, right? So it's like very confusing to try to keep track sometimes who's doing what. But I love that you guys go live. You have to do it more because I know Jensen sucks at it. I love you, Jensen, if you're listening.
Yes.
He sucks at it. So you guys have to do more of it. I loved celebrating the birthday. And my favorite part, honestly, what happens is like when we hang out, I feel like with, I'm on sets all the time and you guys are all fun and young and like happy. I feel like you turn into that. And there was this really sweet moment on the live where you guys, the photo gets shown and you all yell. And then whoever was filming turned and shows Jensen and he just starts laughing like a kid. Like you see like the huge smile in the face, like almost like embarrassed that like everyone was like looking at him. And you just can't help it. Like when you're with a group, you just kind of get young and like turn into like this fun and excitement moment. It was such a beautiful thing to see. So that's why like you guys have to do more lives. It was so much fun to see all of you guys together.
I would love to. And that's what like a bunch of people have been saying about conventions too. Cause like the four of us are definitely new to the Supernatural world and new to conventions. And like everybody there is just like, oh, it's so cool. There's like new kids. And yeah, because they've been with each other for so long and there's been no like new people. And so it's kind of fun, I think. Hopefully they're not just saying it to be nice. Like fun.
Oh no, I've heard people love you guys coming.
Because they all get to explain like so many things about Supernatural or about their career and they know each other so well. So they don't like talk about that as much. So hopefully it's really fun for them. And also Ruth, who plays Rowena, is the nicest person in the world. And so spending time with her has been a lot of fun too. Because on set, we didn't get to, she was always with Demetria because that's what her scenes were with. Yeah, so spending time with her at the conventions has been so much fun. She's so nice.
What is it like having legends from Supernatural come onto your show and play characters that we love? Because it gets all of us excited that watch Supernatural. For people that have never seen Supernatural and watch the Winchesters, it's just really cool dynamic characters that are getting added on. But you had Ruth come on playing Rowena. You had Richard with like Loki / Trickster, like, like all of that stuff. Then it took me, and I was laughing, it took me a double take when Carlos is singing. Like they show the band, I'm like, oh, this is so great. And I'm so focused on Carlos, and I'm like, oh, like Carlos is singing so fantastic. Like JoJo, they're such a good singer. And like, I'm like so into it. And then I went, wait a minute, huh? And then I was like, wait. And I like clicked like the back of my screen. I'm like, let me go back for a second. And I was like, is that Billy? And then I was like, oh my God. And then I saw Loud and Swain. But I'm not gonna lie, I died when I saw Richard. I was just hysterically laughing. And I was like, if you've never seen Supernatural, that nobody would have any clue who they were. And like, it was just funny. But like for watching it, I was like, this is amazing. So, and then what also was cool is because they were wearing wigs and it was like cute little nod, and because it was more of a band, they can bring Chuck on at some point, right? Like he's got, so what is that like? And I know like you all don't get to work with all of them all the time. Now you're getting to meet a lot of them at conventions and stuff, but what is it like having these people? And I'm sure more with season 2.
It is so weird, like being in scenes with people from Supernatural, like especially when we were working with Jensen, like it was like so surreal because it was like we were watching an episode of Supernatural, but like we're in the scene as well. But like watching it, it just feels like we're watching an episode, like, and even watching it back, like watching the episodes all together, like the Winchesters, like it feels like a hybrid. I mean, I guess it kind of is, but it feels so surreal. It is so cool. And also being on set, I mean, Spate was like the most fun to work with. He directed 7 and then he was in, so it was like such a weird thing because we were still treating him like he was our director, but like he was just like an actor in 8. But like it was just really funny because we were going up to him being like, hey, like what should we do for this take? even though he's not a director anymore, but like we just loved working with him so much. We still wanted his advice like going into the next episodes. But I learned a lot from just watching him play Loki too, like his improv and the way he like doing his lines and the way he was like acting on set. Like there was just a lot to absorb from him, and he's such like a professional and he's so good. So it was really cool watching him. All in all, just having people on set, it's really, really cool.
And how is it? And I swear I'm getting to the photo, I promise. But how is it with Jensen? Because every time I've ever been on set and he's directed, you got the headphones like that, like watching the camera, and the second there's like a cut, the headphones come down, and he's like right on to like talk.
Yes.
Everyone keeps laughing at me because like I do like I forgot. I think it was Jake. He was like, "Oh my God, that's such a good impression of like Jensen." I'm like, "Well, that's what he does. Like the headphones are on, he's like super close watching, and then he's like serious. But when he comes out, the advice is never like harsh. It's never mean. It's never critical. It's so like welcoming. So, is there anything that he walked out and said to you, and you were like, oh, like that makes sense, or let me try it that way, or even like just good advice? Because I know it's all about having fun and being in the moment. Anything that he said to you about it?
It was really helpful having him there for episode 13. He was kind of there the whole time, so it was really fun to have him there for the finale. There's one time where I pick up this weapon. It's like the brass knuckle thing, but I had it on backwards because I thought that's how it worked. And like Jensen like was like, hold on, and like came in and he was like, it's this way. And I was like, oh. And also on the pilot, when I was like picking a lock, he was like, yeah, that's not how you pick a lock. Let me show you. But like in a nice way. But it was just really funny. Like he was showing me how to pick a lock. He's like, I've been doing this for so long. He's like, let me show you how it's done. And I was like, okay, cool. I was just going like, and so that was really cool. And also the advice that he gave me that was really funny, but also really helpful was like, when you're doing scenes with Drake, never sink into your hip. He's like, I know it's more comfortable. He's like, but trust me, you look even smaller than you're supposed to, because he's been standing next to Jared for 15 seasons and he's like, never sink in your hip. And I was like, okay, cool. So like every time I find myself doing it, I'm like, oh, it like brings you down like a half inch than you already have. So that was really helpful too.
Like director tell someone too, like
totally
camera angles.
Totally. Yeah. He had like really, really good advice, and he always was there for questions about Supernatural too. Like we would always ask him like, are we supposed to know about this or do we know about this? Yeah. It was really helpful to have him there.
And speaking of that, someone else had mentioned you have to stand on boxes. I heard.
Oh yeah.
Tiny. I was like, well, she's so cute and small and like little. And I'm like, she's so cute. So they were all saying that they give you a hard time because you're always on a box all the time.
Yeah, that's what I get teased about the most. But it doesn't bother me though. I think it's hilarious. Yeah, because everybody in the cast, like Nida is like 5'9", 5'10". JoJo is like 5'9", 5'10" as well. Maybe 5'11". And then Drake is like 6'4". I'm 5'3".
First of all, I want you to know, do not feel bad because I'm 5'4", and I had an inch guys for 15 years, and literally sometimes when they would first walk, I would be like this.
I usually wear these like really really big boots. I got a lot of them in New Orleans because it's very New Orleansy. They're like boots that have like, they're like platforms, but they're like, they have like 8 inches of just platform, but they're really comfortable to walk in. But it's like you're walking on stilts. So everyone calls them my stilts. And I usually wear them. So I'm like sort of near, I'm still not as tall as any of them, but I'm still like around their height. Not Drake, but it's a good enough height. But when I wear just like sneakers or anything like that, I'm like just like that the whole time. But yeah, so I walk on apple boxes and there's scenes. I just did a scene with Tom Welling in the last episode where we're walking into the kitchen and we're walking in behind the counter and we're arguing about like college. And I had, for most scenes, by the way, but this is just like the last one I remember, where there's like a literal walkway of just apple boxes. So it's like a straight line and then it like curves, like it's like my walkway, but it's just all like 3-inch apple boxes. So I look like somewhat near like his height where it makes sense. Ruth was explaining that to people the other weekend and I was like, girl, I understand. Like that's what they have me on too. And we bonded over that. So that was really fun. But she has a line of apple boxes too. So
that's so crazy. So you guys have like a little train track.
Yeah, short people unite. I know.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm super short, so don't feel bad because like for years and literally every time I would always go, can we just like sit like for the interview? Because like I just feel
Yeah.
like I feel stupid like being like hi, and then like on the red carpet it would always be like my mic would be like out of camera, and I'd be like, can you like tilt it up, and like half my face would be in the interview, and like it was never good. So I usually just would show the guys. Like I'm like nobody cares about me anyway. Just show them, and like it doesn't matter. I'm so short, and I'll just hold it really high like when I'm talking to them. So I feel you for being short. So we see the photo. Everyone screams. That's like an epic moment. So first of all, congratulations, because that's going to be like probably one of the most epic memories, iconic moments of the Winchesters, other than obviously the finale. So that was awesome. But I'm going to kind of jump to the finale. I know obviously where we're leaving off. It's like we don't know what's going to happen with Mary and John. And this is a new Mary and John, which we find out. It's kind of like an off-world sort of. I kind of agree with you though in terms of fate. Like, will they kind of end up being the same Mary and John? Possibly. But I loved how they did it. I love where your characters were and that they're kind of like driving off in the sunset, which is so supernatural. Cute little kickback about you were reading the journal and, you know, shotgun, like the whole like, you know, line about the music, all of that kind of fun stuff. I don't want to like overshadow them because it was such a great episode and the storyline was so good and kind of like getting through all of it. But of course, everybody is going to talk about the fact that we see Dean Winchester in the first few minutes, right? Now we're taken backwards because now we're seeing what happened when John first arrived, which we did not. We met John and he had this letter and was already kind of like, so we got to see that, which was really fun. But that last scene is like so epic with all of you there. And the most talked about thing that I've seen so far is not only was it super fun to see them and you're talking to Dean and you don't know, but I feel like Mary kind of knows something because she asked about family. So I was like, I think, but for him to give all the advice and we see the cult and all these like iconic things, but everybody's talking about the fact you got to drive the damn car. So what was that like? Because Baby is like almost loved like a character on the show. So what was it being the car, working with Jensen, working with everybody, and then that car, being in that car?
Working with everybody was so incredible. I think, like I was saying before, but especially for that scene where Jensen is just talking and talking about like what happened to him and then walks over to the two of them and then is talking to them. Like it was like we were watching an episode of Supernatural. Also, it started raining while we were filming it and we were all just like, this is literally like, what is happening? And oh my goodness, driving Baby was so scary because I actually got my license for the finale. So I couldn't drive, still can't really drive. I'm still trying to figure it out. And so I got my license because they really wanted it to be a big moment for Mary and for all the girls to be in the car. And so I was like, oh, that's really cool. And so, yeah, so I got my license in New Orleans. So I have a Louisiana license. And then the first car and the first driving thing that I ever have is with Baby. I was like, oh my God, this is so scary. And it was all like rainy and muddy and it looked great on camera, but like I had to drive in like 40 miles per hour, like coming in, I had to turn right. And then like I was driving, there was like motorcycles on cameras going like around the car. So I was like, oh my God, I can't hit them like the other cameras. And then we're like, and it was going so fast. And I had to like be thinking about like how I'm literally really sacrificing myself. Like I might not come back. And like, that's like, and I had to be thinking about that. But I also was like, I'm in baby right now. And like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm so scared. And I remember texting Jensen being like, I am completely terrified. Like, what do I do? And he's like, you'll be fine. Don't worry, whatever. But I was like, if I crash baby, my life is over. But it was so cool. Like I felt the coolest. I peaked that night, I think. That was the coolest I've ever felt in my life. It was so cool. Yeah. And also, like, we filmed the scene with Dean Winchester before the baby stuff where I was driving baby. And so I got to be in the car with Jensen, and then he picks me out of the passenger seat.
I was going to ask you about that too. Cause like that, I mean, it's one thing to drive the most iconic car known to man, but then you also have Dean Winchester taking you out of the most iconic car known to man.
Yeah, it was really surreal. I was pinching myself, but it was funny because Jensen was talking about how he always, like, no matter what with baby, you always misinterpret how low the windows are. So he's like, you will hit your head all the time. So he's like, be careful. Like, that's the only advice that I can give you. I was like, okay, cool. And then the scene where we see it and like Bob O'Reilly plays, which wasn't playing when we actually were filming, but it's so cool that it was playing after. We were so excited when we heard that. But like, we get in the car. Not only did I hit my head, but I shut the door on my head too. So I literally went like that. And then we sat in and they had a cut and I was like, ow. And then I was like, Jensen's going to be so disappointed in me. And I don't know how I misinterpreted, but you really do. It's a lot lower than you think it's going to be. But yeah, I shut baby's door on my head. I was like, hey, maybe it's good luck. I don't know. So, but yeah, it was really fun.
That's like such an awesome like first driver story, because mine's not that cool. I'm like, yeah, I like the driver's car, got my license, got a beat up car. You're like, yeah, my first car was like, I drove on television. It was one of the most iconic cars.
Robbie and John Showalter, who's the director of 13, they were both saying like, from now on, you're only gonna drive iconic cars. Like, if I ever drive, it has to be in like iconic cars, like Baby, and I don't know any other iconic cars right now, but you get the gist.
Or like Back to the Future cars, like Batman. Right. Let's just throw all sorts of shit at you guys.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Oh my gosh, it'd be so funny. Well, I loved how it ended. I loved how Dean came on. I love the reason why he came on. I love the advantage that you guys now have with this book, with information. I understand what Robbie was saying. I read an article where he said, like, if it ended there, I'm happy with where it ended, but that there's so much possibility going forward. And even like Dean coming back, because the way that Mary drives the car was such a Dean move to be like, get out, everybody out. I don't even care. I'm sacrificing myself. Go Dean. And I just feel like if he's already kind of in heaven on that drive that we had seen, and this is during that period where like Sam's living a normal life and he's doing this like long drive, if he's already kind of misbehaving, I would assume that, you know, it's within Dean to misbehave, and he cares about this universe. He cares about you, your version. So I could see him coming back, and I could see other characters coming back. So, and I'm just like, make the freaking announcement already. Like, we're all
I really hope so. I feel like there's still so much of a story to tell, and there's stories still need to be told. I feel like there's so many different fun ways that we can go. I also think that now that Dean came in and kind of like gave John the letter before he was supposed to, I feel like that is just gonna cause, like, there has to be like more things that messed up,
right?
You know, and yeah, I'm just really curious to see, like, does that end up like changing their fate, or is it always gonna be the same? And so I think that's like really a really fun thing to explore. So yeah, I would really love to keep playing Mary. So
you did such a good job on the show. You embodied her so well. And I mean, like, I've seen you in like a couple other things before, and I was so happy when they cast you. And I was like, she's gonna like rock this out. I'm like, I'm crossing my fingers for you guys. I don't see how they couldn't. Like I said, I read that article to Robbie. He was like, well, you know, there's streaming services, there's other avenues. So I'm not losing faith at all, because I've been through this with Supernatural. You know, in the very beginning, this is what we were hearing after the first season. We were hearing the same thing. We're like, I don't know, we're waiting. And all of a sudden it was like, yeah, they're renewed, and the car was smashed and they had to get a new car. And like, so we've been through this. So I'm like, this will survive. It definitely will survive for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna throw some fan questions really quickly at you. So I tagged you and I said, we got the core four. So I said, send in questions for you. It's BEAUS. I think it's Bo at Bo's Cordell, ORDELL. So obviously that's probably related to Walker. Said, what's the biggest lesson she has learned from playing Mary?
I definitely have learned kind of assertiveness and like confidence from her. I feel like I used to be a lot more like that. And then since moving to LA, I've kind of been more like shy and socially awkward and kind of care a lot about what other people think. And it's something that's like ongoing. But Mary is just so honest and so forward. And like when she believes in something, she like fully puts her whole being into it. And I definitely had some of that, but I think playing her has definitely brought that out more. So I'm really grateful for that.
So many people have asked, so I'm just gonna kind of combine it. But Sean Bumi, I'm so sorry if I said your name wrong. Buemi, Sean Shawn, and Harriet Bethel, Harriotbethl, both asked about the car, which we kind of talked about. But Sean said, "How was it driving baby?" And then saying the line, "Driver picks the music, shotgun Cole. You and the whole cast are amazing. I can't wait to see you in season 2." And then Harriet said, "What was it like getting to drive baby and work alongside Jensen?" So we kind of talked about it a little bit. So I guess what was it like saying the line? We kind of mentioned it a little bit, but what was that like?
Yeah, super surreal. Also kind of nerve-wracking. Before the scene, like we watched Dean say it a bunch of times. So I was like, okay, I want to get this down in like still making it Mary, but like still having his like kind of attitude. So yeah, so that was really fun. And it just felt really surreal and definitely full circle because we all watched the pilot together on the pilot, and that's from the pilot. And then saying it at the end, it was just like, wow, like we actually like did this. Like we did the 13 episodes like all together. And yeah, it was kind of just like a crazy moment for all of us, I think. But yeah, it was really fun saying the line.
Okay, so at Electric Mignon, ElectroMignion, said, "What song would she love to have had for an episode of the Winchesters?"
Honestly, the song that like we wanted so badly in the show was Baba O'Reilly, and it was, which was we had no idea, like literally no idea at all. And when it started playing, when Baby showed up, like we were all screaming. We were like, so that was really cool. So that kind of came true, which is really awesome. But another song, oh, I'm trying to think. One of my favorite 70s songs is Sweet Judy Blue Eyes. And we already had a Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young song, but it would be really fun to have that song. Like maybe when if they're like road tripping or something, that I think is like a really good road trip song.
I would like to throw out Our House by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young because that's one of my
Yes.
favorites.
Oh, I love that
So,
song. That should definitely, yeah, that's definitely like
you
a
and
road trip.
yeah, or like seeing like Mary and John together and like that song playing, like would be so
Oh,
just seeing them like on their cute road trip having fun or something.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Oh, that's
love that
really
song.
sweet.
Okay, so someone said Brittany M, so at Brittany McKay, said excluding Jared and Misha for obvious reasons, probably because they're on shows, I guess, which you'd love to see on the Winchesters from Supernatural.
Honestly, like I guess, yeah, I guess because they're on other shows, but honestly, like having Sam or Castiel on the show would be, I mean, Castiel would be insane. I feel like the Supernatural fans would go crazy. So having them, I feel like Castiel is more of a possibility because Sam is kind of like living his like normal life in that timeline. Like I don't know how, like it's definitely possible because it's Supernatural, but so it'd be really awesome to have Sam. But I feel like Castiel is like more realistic, but not realistic because Supernatural
like I
is not
think
realistic, you know?
yeah, like Castiel needs like less explanation, whereas like
Right.
Sam, you would have to be like, well, we pulled him out of
Right.
Earth to help us, X, Y, and Z. So like that makes sense.
Right. You're right. But yeah, having them both on, like the three of them, like that would like all together would just be so that'd be really cool.
Like iconic. Yeah. So
Mhm.
basically what we're saying is Brittany, sorry, but we want to see them.
Yeah,
Want to see the
exactly.
ones that you excluded.
Not excluding them, bring them on.
So Soldier Boy is Arlene is the display. Her at is adder5741 or him or her. Said, what was your favorite season 1 episode?
I honestly think my favorite was episode 6. I think because it was separate from the kind of like main storyline, like from the Akrita, and it was kind of its own, it felt very like supernaturally where there was like a hunter's funeral and which was really beautiful, which we got to see. And then like Mary's mother figure came in, or like kind of her aunt. It was like a cool episode for Mary as well because it was kind of interesting navigating like, oh, maybe there isn't a way out of hunting, and you always like once you're in the world, you always come back into it. So that was really fun to act with Tracy, the character. And like the farm was just so beautiful, like John being possessed, and then Lotta having the monologue about why she quit violence. And I just think it was a really, really really all around good episode. Also, that was the first time when we were filming that the weather in New Orleans like was just so beautiful. So I also think like we had really good memories like being on the farm together, and it was just so beautiful. So I think it's kind of a hybrid of like the episode came out beautiful, but also we had a great time filming. I honestly really like the finale a lot. Like there's so many moving parts, so we had no idea because like we knew it was going to be an insane like watch for the fans, but we were like, is there so much going on? Is it going to be hard to follow? Like what is it going to be like? And it actually like we were really happy with it. So also the finale too. Just watching the reactions was on Twitter was just so fun. Like it was really cool seeing videos of people reacting, especially to Dean showing up. That was really really cool. So
yeah, like I totally love it. I love all like the social interactions. Always my favorite because like I see them early. It's kind of like you guys, right? Like you film them and we all have to wait. So I'm like dying, and then like when it airs, I'm like always looking online. I have a question for you. Last question that I asked everybody, which was about wardrobe. So the wardrobe is amazing, but everybody had a favorite, and I want to see if this is an ongoing theme. And everyone had something they hated. So what was your favorite outfit, and what was something that you hated or like just had issues with?
My favorite outfit. Ooh. I really liked my outfits in the pilot, actually. I really liked the dark kind of leather jacket type, like when we meet Mary for the first time. I really liked her outfits in the last episode as well. Also, episode 11, it kind of went back to like her darker style. So that was really fun. I really liked the vampire episode where she's like cutting off the heads and like the outfit's like very bright and vibrant. And so it's kind of like a contrast. So I really like that as well. Thing that was like the worst was wearing like having skinny jeans on.
Oh my God. Okay. So this is an ongoing theme. All four of you, and I did not tell anybody until after they said it, all four have complained about the jeans. So I was like, jeans need to get removed from the show. Drake said that he hated the bell bottoms. Yeah.
Yes.
So difficult to work with. JoJo said their issue was with the full white outfit and the constant changing of the jeans because it was so dirty.
Right.
This said the jeans because she was sweating and she would have to like put them out and like so.
Yes.
So jeans are not good on the show. Somehow we like work in the 70s
No.
apparently.
Like I feel like skinny high-waisted jeans was like such the vibe in the 70s. So like it works, but like I only wear like baggy clothes for the most part. So like for me, I was just like, huh. But also honestly, the jeans were fine. It was wearing the belt over it. Because as soon as I eat like a crumb of food, I get so bloated. And so I would always like my pants would always be unzipped and my belt would be unbuckled like at all times. And I would just put my shirt over it. And so I would always ask the camera guys, I'm like, am I on camera for this or am I off camera? And because if not, like my jeans were just open. I was just like, oh.
Well, and it hurt too, because like even like when you're not eating, like when they're so tight and you're like sitting and like you get that like red line, like like it's not comfortable. Like it's so I get it. So maybe not get rid of the jeans because obviously it's the 70s, so I understand like we need them, but like me, I don't know, we got to make like something that works where like everyone's not complaining about. Stay away from white colored jeans, and then maybe like not as flared bottoms to like make Drake not suffer, and then maybe give you some freaking boyfriend jeans so that you don't have to like, be squished. Everybody said it was just very funny that all of you had issues with some area of the jean at some point.
I just watched this. It was like Donny Osmond, and it was like an award show where the Carpenters won, and it was like a funny clip, but it was from 1974, I think. So around this like 2 years later. But I just like the suits with like the ruffled, like the ruffles on it, like that's such a big thing. And I would pay millions of dollars to see Drake wear that. And I really hope he has to, if fingers crossed we get picked up, that there's like an event and Drake has to wear like the ruffle.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
He's so mad.
Or
and I want to
that could be a semi prank.
It's
like if we spoke to wardrobe and we're like, listen, today is that day where we got to get dressed up. You're going to a prom. There's some sort of whatever's happening.
Yes, and that's what we fit him in.
Yes, and he thinks that's what he's wearing. I told you, I have ideas. I have ideas to get him. I told that I'm like, we all need to be in like a chat together. And like when I was interviewing her, JoJo called. Like she actually turned the phone, and I was like, hey. They were like, hi. Like I had just spoken to JoJo like the day before, so it was so funny. I'm like, we need to be on a chat because I have ideas, you guys. I'm like, I could send you some stuff. So I was like, I need to message all of you, but it was like it was much fun because JoJo's like such a presence. Like I just feel like so calm around JoJo, and then Ned is so funny and like nerdy like me and like joking around. Like you're so fun and excited, and then like Drake's like trying to be professional but is so not professional, and like like everything and all the
Yeah.
details and like all the cursing, and it was like so fun, and like so all of you together, it was so much fun. So I was like, I need in on this like group chat thing. I'm just gonna bother all of you guys on social apps,
Let's start a group chat, and we will
and then we need
discuss.
a private one.
Oh, private one. I was
Yeah,
about to say
we need a
you know
private
what?
one.
Yeah, with just Nida and JoJo and I, so we can do this prank. I think that would be perfect because Drake would be like,
And he's not gonna say no because it's wardrobe. Like you're not gonna fight them. Like you're gonna be like, okay,
no.
all right, this is what I have to wear.
Yeah,
So
no, it has to be because it's the 70s.
yeah,
Oh, that'd be so great. I can't wait. He's gonna
yeah,
be like,
we
I
gotta talk. We
can't be in
definitely.
this. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Hope you guys enjoyed listening to Meg Donnelly talk about her experience on the Winchesters playing Mary Campbell. We're all keeping our fingers crossed for season 2. If you missed any of the episodes, head over to the CW app where you can stream all of season 1 for free. And make sure you hit the subscribe button so you're updated on all of our latest podcasts. And head over to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe so you're updated on all of our video content.